following is an interview with Luke Gonze of Red Tomato.
So, you call yourself Luke Gonze? Yes. And yet you dare to make this music. I will use the goodness extractor to suck every last inch of goodness from you.
Well, that certainly didn't take long.
Now you are one of my evil minions, and you will obey my every request. Starting with... How do you spell your name?
My name is spelled Gonze. It's actually Gonze, which is related to apparently originally Gonzales. I'm a member of the smallest minority in America, which is the Belgian-American minority. And apparently the Gonzales is, Gonze is a piece of Belgian slang for a whore. The legend being that when the Spanish conquered Belgium in the 1500s, women who went with the Spanish were called Gonzaleses for short. So that's my distinguished lineage.
It's all a lie, do you hear? I hear that Belgians killed German babies during World War I.
Well, it was only their fondness for having German babies in their waffles that made them do it. They couldn't control themselves.
That's another thing. Bill Clinton, the only foreign policy experience he has is eating at the International House of Pancakes.
Well, so what?
No, that's not the right answer. The goodness extractor. Now, what is the correct answer?
Okay, well, as a good liberal, I'm obliged to defend Bill Clinton.
No, that's the wrong answer. Now you're a conservative. What?
To this woman.
Oh no, you want my hair.
I have nothing to do with that.
What you told Callie the other day to make her call me and
Afraid of what he's gonna do. He's gonna raise taxes for us rich people, and he's gonna.
I'll restore you back to your normal self, such as it is. So tell me about all the lousy bands you were in before Red Tomato.
Well, before Red Tomato, my first band was called the Homegrown Revival Band, and we played Southern rock covers, and we did, I don't know, 2 or 3 shows, and our big hit was the Sweet Home Alabama cover. And after the Homegrown Revival Band, I played in a bluegrass band called the Swamp Stompers, and that was a total failure because I was a lead vocalist, and my lead vocals were, you know, even more abysmal than they are now.
Give us an example of your evil lead vocals.
Well, I'm running down the road.
That's enough.
That's fine. So after the Swamp Stompers, I don't know, I just did a lot of I started getting into more bizarre you know, fucked up, unlistenable stuff. And then I moved to Boston to play with a friend's band, and we didn't get along very well, so I was, you know, quickly booted out of the sort of Steely Dan sounding band, which is
What was the name of this band?
The Arthur Nason Project. Arthur was a friend of mine from Bard College, where I went to school. And then
What years are we talking about here?
I'm talking 85, the year I moved to Boston.
Where were you before that?
I was at Bard College in New York State.
Bard College?
Right, and before that I was in Washington, D.C., where I grew up.
Did you ever hear Spies Everywhere?
No, that's new to me. Spies Everywhere? I don't know. I mean, most of the Bard bands that hang around for a little while are the same group of people with a different name. But you know, aside from Ms. Whitehead and a few other stellar things. Oh, also at Bard I had a great band called the Bouncing Dogs. That was it's just a pure improvisation thing, or we'd, you know, start with kind of, you know, I had a friend that I used to communicate with really well musically. We would do really good jams just by, you know, totally going out in space against each other and doing everything we could to avoid being coherent in any way. So we only did one performance, but it was a really great sort of Happy Flowers-ish kind of thing, really satisfying.
And what year was this?
That was probably 84.
And this was in
upstate
New York?
Yeah.
Miserable, swamp-infested, mosquito-buzzing psychopath nurturing, religious crank revival shooting.
You can't say that about upstate New York. It's the land that I love. So we did the show as the Bouncing Dogs, and that was basically actually an LSD influenced experience where we took drugs before doing the performance, improvised through it. So it was pretty unlistenable and fun. And then
No, wait.
What is it now?
When you're past a certain age, it's not drugs, it's medicine.
Yes, we were sick and we needed to be administered.
That's because of the lousy healthcare system. No, wait, I'm sounding like a liberal now. If these people get sick, it's up to them to heal themselves. All right, go on.
Okay, so then I moved to Boston and I just sort of discovered the rock and roll scene here. And so I started kind of hanging around, going to clubs. I heard Kenny Highland for the first time, and that was a, pretty wonderful, enlightening experience. And then so I played in, I went and jammed with friends that were into like punk bands, and eventually I joined a couple miserable punk bands. One called the DC-10s, which you heard a couple minutes ago, with this evil dictatorial ex-stripper as a front woman, and she kicked me out. And in a very impolite way, I must add. So after the DC-10s, I don't know, I went and played in another band called Fur Vault with a bass player from Sob Story and a good woman drummer, a little bit difficult to get along with, but a really good sense of beat. And but I was still a pretty bad songwriter and singer at that point, so that didn't really pan out.
And what point was this, 1986?
That was probably 87, 88 by then. And then after Fur Vault, I started working on Uncle Foamy. And actually I discovered, at that point I sort of discovered melody, which is a major turning point for obvious reasons. People could get into my stuff and find a way in.
Were there people from Vegetarian Platter and Uncle Foamy?
No, the guys from Vegetarian Platter are friends of mine from Washington, D.C., like guys from my block that I grew up with. And the guys from Vegetarian Platter were in a band called The Plants. The very nice Plants for all of our nascent rock lives as teenagers in D.C. And the very nice Plants were this incredibly friendly and wanky garage band in the midst of the sort of punk explosion in D.C.
So actually, you have no connection whatsoever with Vegetarian Platter?
Yeah, I mean, I jammed with them a couple times, and they took the time to teach me the songs, and then I played at the show.
So they're more like your mentors, but not the mentors.
I think that's fair to say.
Very well. Whatever happened to them bums anyway?
Well, they're living in New York now. They had a band called the Home Fries that was actually fairly successful, and then Andy and Joe, started fighting. I mean, they always fight. I don't know. They've been like best friends since they were 5, and so they go through periods of hating each other. And in one of those periods of hating each other, they broke up the Home Fries, even though the Home Fries were doing good. So now Andy is like living in New York and being a schmooze beast, and a very able one, and Joe's working for NPR doing radio stuff.
Why don't they get a new logo anyway? This is National Public Radio. I can't stand it. Why can't they come up with something really good like, yeah?
Well, it's actually, it's Joe's fault. They keep trying to change the logo, and every time they do, Joe threatens to do away with himself. He says he can't live without that endlessly repeated announcement. So blame it on him. So after that, what did I do? Oh, then I played in this band called the Subskin Cables, which lasted about 4 or 5 months. I played violin in the Subskin Cables, and I was a totally execrable violinist.
Can you play mandolin?
I did actually own a mandolin, but I was an even more execrable violinist, so I decided to go with that. And then we started Uncle Foamy, which is this kind of like big, stupid rock fun band, and that lasted for about a year and a half.
And what did away with Uncle Foamy? Their love for alcoholic beverages?
Well, our fondness for alcoholic beverages notwithstanding, our bass player took off, and we had a hard time finding a new bass player. We got this other guy who was a real schlep. It just didn't work out, and the band wasn't really taking off and flying in the way that we wanted it to. So actually, I quit the band, and since I started the band, that pretty much effectively caused it to cease existing. But at the exact same time, I pretty much converted it into Red Tomato. Took the drummer, Tony, our guitar player, was still kind of mad at me for busting up the band. So, like, we're friends again now, but at the time we weren't really like simpatico enough to get in the band together. So it turned out that just John the drummer and myself, started Red Tomato, and we asked my roommate Kristen to join. She's a good singer, has a good sort of sense of musicality, and got her to do the bizarre percussion stuff. And that's the birth of Red Tomato.
Well, before I go on and grill you with the excruciating, tedious details of your early life prior to being a musician, maybe I should ask a little bit about your two side people, or whatever you want to call them, your partners in crime, your musical assistants, your butt boys, even though one of them's a girl. What, are they your, like, Robin 1 and Robin 2 or something like that? You expect them to be killed by some malevolent psychopath with green makeup and hair, huh? Or what? What do you see with these people? What's going to happen to them? Are they going to like have to fill out self-employment forms till the year 2015?
Well, I think of them as the red shirts in Star Trek. You know how like in the Star Trek 1, every time there was a mission on planet, Captain Kirk and Scotty would grab a couple red shirt guys that had never showed up in any episode before then, and you knew
that they were going to be bought, and they were going to get iced by the end. Yeah,
exactly. So John and Kristen are the red shirts. That's not true at all. Yeah, I mean the band is really tight. You know, nobody is replaceable at all. If anybody moved, the whole personality of the band would change, and all of us, you know, developed our style specifically to fit the format. Like not having any bass means that John and I like had to develop sounds that were that were bigger than other people's instrumental sounds, just to fit the, fill the space. And John and I are like really, really tight as a rhythm section to make up for the fact that there's no bass. Like, we can't be sloppy, because if we do, it just doesn't rock at all. So, and Kristen has like a really unique sense of singing, and she's not really a rock musician in the first place, or a rock chick. I mean, she's likes to sing and stuff. So instead of trying to force her into the traditional rock chick, Patti Smith influenced way of yowling, as much as I like it, she just does her thing. She really loves to sing harmony and has her own style, and sort of invented her own niche, and that's kind of the case with everybody.
Now, if only she would sing right into the microphone.
Well, that's part of her unique style, is to sing far away from the microphone and be as quiet as possible.
Well, I guess you don't want those embarrassing little things where your teeth and lips hit the metal surface, and God knows who's been drooling on those microphones, especially at the Middle East.
Yeah, I know. It could ruin our whole career.
So where's your percussionist, drummer, whatever you want to call her? Where's she from, anyway?
She's from Northampton.
Ooh, Northampton. Well, la-di-da, excuse me. I'm sorry, Mr. Green Consciousness, Northampton. Okay, great. Well, what's so great about Northampton? Why did you go all the way to Northampton? Aren't there plenty of female percussionists who also can sing, even though they don't put their lips next to the microphone in Boston?
Well, I'm afraid that none of them is good enough for our exacting standards.
And what just might those be?
Well, it's important to, have a Katie Lang fixation along the lines that Kristen does, and to, have some kind of far out new agey sort of beliefs, and to, I'm afraid that these Boston singer percussionists are just don't cut it. They can't meet our exacting standards. But the funny part about the green consciousness thing is that Kristen really does come from a fairly acutely Northampton kind of family.
And what precisely does that mean?
Well, they're very liberal. They had a barn, not a barn, but a sawmill that they converted into a house when she was a kid. And I don't know, her parents are both kind of arch liberals, who in fact were a singing duo back in the 60s, where her dad would strum classical guitar and they played folk songs, and her mom kind of harmonized winsomely in a pretty similar sense to the way that
did they ever cover Mr. Spock's Bitter Drink?
I'm not allowed to comment on that, but I can only say that the probabilities are strong.
I see. So she's a Star Trek fanatic too. Is that what you're getting at?
Well, there's a little known secret about the band, is that we live to carry out the principles of Star Trek, to explore
just like
brave new
Meltdown.
worlds. Well, in fact, Meltdown and we have a little known contract writer. I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're like brother and sister with Meltdown, dude.
I see. So all of you slimeball musicians all hang out in the same vile little cubbyhole niche crapple of crap. I can't stand it anymore. I'm so sick of it. I can't stand it. Get me out of here, somebody. Let me interview big fat cat tycoon types or something. I'm sick of music. I'm sorry, Luke. You go on.
Well, I feel bad that I've caused this, wave of resentment in you.
Yeah, put the helmet on. You're going to need it in a couple minutes. I'm getting pretty exasperated.
Here, give me the gun.
No, it's mine.
No, give me the gun.
No, no.
I want it.
No, you can't take it from me either. I'll kill.
Oh,
So what's the full name of your drummer? Oh, excuse me, percussionist.
His name is
Her name, the percussionist, the woman one.
Her full name is Kristen Holstein.
Well, you know how important it is to spell her name accurately. Holstein.
That's it. That's the one.
Okay, and what about the other guy?
The guy who
John?
plays drums, John Hanley. His name is spelled Jon, because actually I think it's Jonathan.
Oh, okay, one of those people, huh?
Yeah.
Has to spell his name different, has to stand out from the crowd, always wants to rock the boat. I understand perfectly. And how do you spell his last name? Hanley?
Hanley. Actually, there's 2 Y's and two L's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's a silent X at the beginning of it. So it's actually spelled Xhanlleyy.
With one of them little upside down exclamation points at the end?
Yeah, that's
You're not really Belgian.
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say that it's all an incredible imposture, and not one word as you said that has been true.
It's God's truth. I am the only Belgian American in America. But there are a couple other Gonzes here and there.
Now wait a minute, what about John Belushi? Wasn't he from Armenia or something? Wasn't that the most obscure minority? I don't understand. I'm the wrong hero and I am a minority of one. All of the special benefits should go to me directly.
So what you're trying to say is the rest of the world is mad and it's you who are sane.
No, the rest of the world is sane and it is I who am mad, I alone.
Ooh, so what you're trying to say is it's the rest of the world who are angry and you're a force for benign loving.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to decide whether I'm an infection or a cancer. You make the call.
Yes, I don't know if I would like to be forced to choose.
All right, then tell us more about John Hanley, you useless sacco.
So John comes from Mahanoy City, Pennsylvania.
How do you spell that? Mahonning.
Yes, actually it's Mahaney.
Oh, okay, right. Wait, like waiting for Malone? What? What is this, the bags or something? I'm from Pennsylvania, although I never admit it to anybody.
Where are you from in Pennsylvania?
Pittsburgh.
All right.
McKeesport. Castle Shannon.
Is that like Pittsburgh proper?
Pittsburgh. It's all Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's just an enormous, gigantic, sort of festering embolism on the consciousness of the country.
Yeah, well, Mahanoy City is this kind of, it used to be like a coal mining area, and actually I know about it because I went up there with John and...
Western or Eastern Pennsylvania?
I don't know.
Central? What?
I don't know, it's like...
You don't know, it's a 300-mile wide state. It's either like 300 miles away from Philadelphia or it's like 30 miles from Philly. What?
I don't know. It's somewhere in there, and also Philly is also in the state.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll look it up in an atlas or something.
So I went down there and got like really stinking drunk on a rampage for a night with John and our friend Tony Kaminsky and our friend Sue Warning, and we had a really fun time. It's this really small town, two streets, 25 or 30 bars. I mean, it's just the bar per capita population is totally out of sight.
And one bookstore, an adult bookstore, of course. Open till 2 a.m. on Saturdays, yeah. Hey, I'm sick of looking at the gas pump over at the gas station. Let's go over to the adult bookstore and smirk at the minister as it comes out of one of the booths, huh? Yeah, one of them towns. Yeah, I know all about that, yeah.
There's also a revolutionary bookstore.
Oh.
Yeah, they live for those revolutionary books. I don't know what... let's move
Tell
on.
me more about John. I want to know more. I want to know as much about John as possible.
Well, John's a cook. He works at the Monkey Bar in South Station, and He has long hair and a ponytail, and he's been going out with this girl Christy, who lives in Baltimore, and he likes to go down to Baltimore every once in a while he goes down to Baltimore and blows off practice for the weekend.
You mean Balmer?
That's exactly what I mean.
All right. Well, listen, we got about 6 minutes left, so I want you to say everything about the band in 6 minutes.
Everything about the band in 6 minutes. Oh, I love that joke!
Now you must be sacrificed.
Okay, so...
All right, I got several really hot questions to ask you. What other bands do they compare you to, or do they say that you can't be compared to any other bands, and then they just throw up their hands in despair and don't even bother writing about you because rock journalists are the laziest writers in the world. If you're not just like Joe shit down the street, they're not going to say one word about you, right?
I couldn't agree more.
All right, so they don't compare you to other bands.
Well, they do compare us to other bands a lot, but usually they're wrong.
Well, what are the wrong bands to compare you with?
Well, a lot of times they say Captain Beefheart, and actually in our earlier life, in Red Tomato Mach 1, there was some similarity with the Captain Beefheart things, particularly because I was really into doing these kind of bizarre stream of consciousness, raps over the music, which was probably more surreal and less structured than it is now. So we heard that a lot, and but, I mean, I think that the true influences for our band is just traditional 80s and 90s kind of irritating pop. I love bands like the Dam Builders. I'm a really big Star fan. I really love the folky Velvet Underground stuff.
Which Big Star album's the best? Quick.
Well, I don't
You have
think
10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, the Alex Chilton solo album that has "Take Me Home and Make Me Like It," I think it's actually called Box Bottom, B-A-C-H, is the true connoisseur's obscurity, but it's not really the best. It's kind of an inconsistent album.
Well, you like the third one better than the first and the second, or what?
Well, actually, I just got the Ryko disc re-release of the radio show WRKO, I think, which is in Philly. Not WRKO, WXKS, something. Anyway, this is like live radio show that they taped and re-released, and it's in the era between Big Star's second, Radio City, and Big Star's third, Sister Lovers. And actually, it's a really amazing show. And
it will be part of your payola to me to send me a copy of this. Let's move on. We don't have much time. We don't want to hear about your fascination with Big Star. We want to hear about other
I love them. I live for Big Star.
I love them too. They're great. I mean, especially all that stuff on the third album, which is just so good. I feel like I'm dying now, but if you ever bury me, be kind. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I know. I love that manic depressive Alex Chilton. I saw him in Athens, Georgia. He's the greatest. Let's move on.
Cool, man. Yeah, okay, so, what's other stuff that's, I don't know, germane to it all? Well, one thing is that I was really into, like, kind of spacey art music for a long time, and,
Gee, how could I guess?
Well, I mean, people, the media hook with Red Tomato is that it's a very arty project, but the truth is that Red Tomato is really a pop band with, this other stuff kind of hooked onto it, all the sort of bizarre percussion. And the real concept behind the percussion isn't to be arty or to expand anybody's perceptions or to educate anybody or to be good for anybody in a sort of vitamin way. I mean, the thing about the arty, found objects and the toys and all the weird stuff is that we just think it's fun. We think that we actually do it because we think it's more entertaining. We think it's more entertainment value for your dollar to have a pop band and an art band because it's exciting. All that stuff is fun and stimulating.
Oh, I get it. In other words, not only do you want to entertain people, but you also wish to convey something of a moral lesson. Give it up. You're never going to be able to do that. It's one or the other. Either all your customers are going to be drunks, or they're all going to be cerebral nerds wearing tweed and smoking awful pipes with that awful maple rum mixture. I can't stand it anymore. Just leave me alone. It's too much. Everything's pressing in on me. Go on.
Well, no, I really don't mean to, convey anything of a moral nature, except for that, I mean, maybe the message is that, the cliche, free your mind and your ass will follow, is sort of, not what I would look for. It'd be that, your mind and your ass are both entertainable and, have a lot in common. And, so that's the big Red Tomato theme. I mean, and the thing that's amazing about the Red Tomato project, really being involved in it, is that people who don't want to be, people see the art side of it as being like forced on them. They feel like they're being like chained down in front of a PBS documentary and forced to watch, nature or something like that. And they sometimes people have these like violent reactions about how snooty the whole project is, and it, it feels to me like they're really projecting onto it. But I mean, that's part of being in the media and creating a media project and being in a band, is that really you just
Forecast looks good, in fact.
project whatever they want to project onto it, and that's part of the Red Tomato experience.
So tell me a little more about the earliest origins of the band. Uncle Foamy broke up, or you more or less broke them up or something. And then how did you meet those two people that you eventually formed the band with?
Well, what actually happened was there was a couple of generations of early Red Tomato stuff that, I was going to Bard College, and my senior project in the music program Zero, which is this very spacey music, program, was to do more of what I do, and was really to create Red Tomato. So the earliest idea was just to add to add the found object, toy, noise stuff with the pop songs. So the first generation was I took the last bassist for Red Tomato, Chris Forkey, and was going to do a project with him playing acoustic bass, and he's a good acoustic bass player, and have taped noise and the pop songs, and we went up to Bard to do the project, and Chris disappeared that day, so it turned into a solo project. Well, that didn't fly, so the next thing we did was we went down and did a show in my basement at a party. We had Kristen play drums at that, and she's not a drummer, so she was really horrified. And that was a 2-song debacle, even though it was a lot of fun. And after that, we started jamming with Kristen on percussion and vocals and John on drums, and it just happened that mix stuck.
Well, that's very good. And now I will restore you to your state of evilness, which I know is endemic to Red Tomato.